Long before electricity, firearms or cameras, survival depended on one truth. A village was only as safe as its weakest household. From the Middle East to medieval Europe, from African kingdoms to East Asian farming communities, people developed remarkably effective ways to secure their homes and settlements. These techniques required no steel fences or high-tech gadgets, yet they worked for centuries. The lessons these villages left behind still matter today, especially for anyone interested in practical defense without modern dependency. Why ancient security is still relevant. Modern home defense is dominated by locks, alarms and surveillance, yet when power fails or supply chains collapse, these systems lose much of their value. Ancient methods rooted in landscape design, community cooperation and low-tech tools provide long-term resilience. They teach us how to use natural features, psychology and collective organization to keep homes safe, approaches that can still be applied in rural homesteads or even backyard preparedness today. Village design itself was a defense strategy. One of the strongest security measures ancient people used was layout. Villages often clustered homes tightly together with narrow entryways, forcing intruders into choke points. Others were built on hills or surrounded by ditches that doubled as drainage and defense. Modern adaptation could be as simple as planting dense hedgerows around property boundaries using fencing to funnel visitors toward a single gate, or placing gardens in such a way that access to the home is naturally restricted. The principle is to shape the environment so that intruders lose the element of surprise. Natural barriers replaced walls of steel. Ancient villages, made clever use of thorny plants, moats or stacked stone walls. In East Africa, acacia thorns were woven into living fences. In medieval Europe, ditches filled with sharpened stakes guarded perimeters. And in Asia, bamboo served as both building material and deterrent. For today's backyard or homestead, this could mean, say, planting blackberry brambles under windows, using cactus borders in arid regions, or stacking firewood walls strategically. Such measures may not stop determined intruders, but honestly they slow them down significantly, buying time and discouraging opportunists. Fire, smoke and sound were early warning systems. Without electricity, villages relied on sensory cues. Dogs barked at strangers. Simple wooden rattles or clay bells were tied to gates. Smoke signals or fire beacons alerted neighbouring settlements to danger. The modern equivalent doesn't require electronics either. Wind chimes, gravel paths or natural barriers that make noise underfoot are, simple ways to create passive alarms. Raising a few geese or dogs remains a surprisingly effective home defence measure. Just as ancient villagers relied on sound, so too can modern households integrate natural alert systems. Community defence made homes stronger. No family defended alone in ancient times. Villagers organised night watches, shared lookout duties, and gathered quickly at warning signals. Homes near entrances often doubled as first response points. The collective mattered more than the individual. Today this lesson carries weight. Organising neighbours into communication groups, holding small drills, or establishing mutual assistance agreements transforms vulnerability into resilience. The ancient wisdom of defending together is honestly more effective than any lock. Simple tools and improvised weapons created deterrence. Though many villages lacked advanced weapons, they improvised with spears, slings, bows and heavy wooden clubs. The key was readiness. Tools were within reach and training was communal. For modern survivalists, this does not translate into carrying ancient arms, but rather ensuring practical defence tools are accessible and knowing how to use them effectively. Training in hand tools, archery, or even farming implements can serve both daily function and emergency readiness, just as they did for ancient villagers. Ancient villages secured themselves through natural barriers, collective vigilance, and simple yet clever deterrents. Their security did not rely on fragile systems, but on resilience, adaptability, and cooperation. These lessons endure: plant barriers, control access points, use sound as alarms, and work with neighbours. Backyard Wisdom is dedicated to unearthing and sharing these timeless strategies. Subscribe for more explorations into forgotten survival history, and share this with anyone curious about how our ancestors thrived without modern systems.